Welcome back to PR After Hours. I'm your host, Alex Greenwood, bringing you your weekly cocktail of PR and marketing tips that will help you and your business. Stick around, we'll get started right after these messages. Hello, listeners. It's me, Alex, from PR After Hours. I hope you're enjoying the show so far. And I wanted to talk to you just for a moment about the way I get this show right into your earbuds every week. It's because I use Anchor FM. Now, I've told you previously that I've been podcasting since 2006, back when we used stone knives and bear skins and a couple of Dixie cups and string. Anchor FM has really streamlined this and made it simpler for people who don't know the first thing about setting up a podcast or don't have, time to learn all the pro tools and stuff, because it's all right here. First thing it's important to know is it's free. There are certain tools that will allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will then distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. That's huge. Distribution is a big pain in the butt, to be honest with you, so it's really great Anchor FM can do that for you, and you're not paying hosting fees. That adds up every month. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place, so download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started, and be sure to join me in the virtual cocktail lounge on PR After Hours. Voting isn't just going to the polls on election day anymore. Options like early voting, mail-in voting, and ballot drop boxes are available to more voters and are growing in popularity. How to Vote, a tool created by Democracy Works, breaks down the options your state offers for casting a ballot, empowering you to decide when and where to vote. Democracy works best when we all vote, but misinformation and confusion about election procedures have resulted in low voter turnout. How to Vote, a tool created by Democracy Works, takes the guesswork out of the voting process. It's easy to use and helps folks from all over the country overcome many of the process barriers to voting. Democracy Works is committed to helping you vote no matter what. Their tool, How to Vote, does just that. So decide when and where you'll vote this year at howto.vote. Public relations professionals more and more pulled into the content game. Well, what's the content game? Well, for me, I'll tell you what it is. I am doing a lot more, particularly since the pandemic set in. I'm doing a lot more curated content for my clients. In other words, I'm writing blog posts. I'm helping with some quick snippet video things, doing social media stuff for them, some things they can curate on their social media. They're just looking for content because content improves SEO, content builds credibility, content is, I'm sorry, I have to say it, king. But to that end, I want to talk to somebody who's really an expert on content, really an expert on video in particular. This is Brady Hester joining us. He is with Brad Dog Media. He has got a lot of things he's going to tell you about. And I got to say, too, I'm very excited to have a fellow Kansas Cityan here on the show. Welcome, Brady. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Alex. Glad to be here today.
It's good having you in the virtual lounge. Brady, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know I kind of just glossed over. Tell us where you're from, what you do, all that stuff.
Yeah, so like you, I'm a fellow Kansas Cityan, so great to connect with a fellow Kansas City pro, so that's awesome. So I actually got my degree in public relations at the University of Central Missouri.
Great school and great program, too. I've had interns from there. Fantastic.
Definitely. I don't know if you're familiar with any of the professors, but of course, there's some great names over there.
Yeah.
And through internships, I really got into the marketing side and, primarily with digital marketing, social media, which then led into, digital advertising. So, through all those internships and trying things out, I tested the waters and, kind of created something for myself to start working with, which then eventually led into the podcast and creating my own original content for myself. And really trying out all aspects of marketing, especially on the digital side. So it's been a fun few years.
Yeah, and that's the thing I didn't even mention in my lead in. I've been podcasting off and on since 2006, but I've really not used it in a very business oriented way until this show. I've had just more hobbyist kind of podcasts, things like that. And the power of this is incredible. Well, of course it is. Look at this. You and I just connected, and this is great. We would never have connected this year because of COVID. We never would have bumped into each other. I'm not going anywhere. I don't know if you are, but even if we did, I would be wearing a mask. You wouldn't know who I was. So this
Right.
is
It's
fantastic.
crazy.
And we're not only is podcasting great for networking, but it's great to learn new things, and it's a great way to curate content and all that stuff. So it's exciting to have you here. So Brady, I'll just jump in. I defer to you particularly on the video side. Tell me, in your practice, in your line of work, what are you doing to help brands and customers with content? Can you give us some ideas and what you think they should be doing?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm a huge fan of putting a personality to a brand. And that's something that I feel like a lot of businesses lack. And, a big focus for me is utilizing experts in like the videography and photography space. So I work with local videographers, and we kind of team up on projects, and I'll come in with a vision and incorporate that with videography and photography experts that can help me capture that personality and then base content around that and really use that for the brand. And that helps, companies or even just individuals who want to make a name for themselves actually stand out, where, it's not like they're cheaply creating, personal content for themselves or avoiding their face on camera at all, which, there are a lot of people that are camera shy. So that's sometimes a challenge, but, a big part of it for me is getting that personality to shine through. So it lets the humans who are seeing the content interact with humans behind the brand.
That's so true. I've dabbled a little. I won't drop names because programs, but I've used some of the programs to kind of create little video clips, and they're okay. They're okay, but I can see where the limitations are beyond my own limitations. But having somebody like you who is not, obviously you're not automated, and you can bring those assets, those brand assets, we can bring them to you and say, Brady, here's our story. Because I have a feeling this is similar to my process when I get a new client for everything else that I do. I was like, give me all your assets. Let's talk. Let's really talk. I ask a lot of questions. And then from there, I start to see how a story forms, right?
Right.
Is that what you do? I think that's what you're
Yeah.
doing as well. Yeah.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. I'd love to see and kind of do an audit of, hey, what are you working with right now? What's going on? What are the consumers in your target audience really connecting with, or maybe lacking? And yeah, I love to get the background. And a lot of times the story kind of writes itself with people. You just get to talking with them and hearing what they're all about, and just like that, the direction kind of creates itself, which is pretty cool.
It's really cool. Yeah, I love that when I'm writing something and it just happens. And I worked in television I was over at KCPT for a number of years when I first came to
Oh,
Kansas
cool.
City. I wasn't a producer; I was the PR guy there, but
Yeah.
I was around it, and I worked over the promotions team, and they were all producers and shooters, and I love to observe how they would take something that was on the page or somebody right in front of them and just transform them. And that's the power of video. Can I ask you this? And I don't want to put you on the spot if it's not exactly your area, but video, as far as I understand it, does get more eyeballs, whether they be SEO eyeballs that are automated or people. That is still the case, correct?
Right. Yeah. It's pretty interesting. That's really the direction everything's going. When Instagram and Facebook, they start to add video into their platforms, their algorithm naturally, they want to promote the new thing, right? So, right. When they start incorporating video, they're going to let the algorithm actually prefer that content for people, so that'll encourage more users to put out more video. Because at the end of the day, I mean, oftentimes at least, there are some shorter video content now, but if you get somebody to watch a 1 to 2 minute video, that keeps somebody on the platform longer than scrolling through a picture real quick. So, that does, play into the algorithm a little bit, which is just an added bonus, in my opinion.
I think so too. Well, how about this? Can I just throw Well, it's not even a hypothetical. It's actually a question I got this. I got
Yeah,
an
go
email
for it.
from a listener, and he says, "Hey, I've just made the transition into being a social media manager. I used to be in the news media, and that's he's not an old geezer like me. He's a younger dude, and he sent me this, and he said, I've got this brand I'm working with. It's kind of a niche manufacturing kind of deal." And he says, I'm having a hard time, he's having that hard time even getting to 100 on Facebook. And he says, do you
Yeah.
mind looking at my content and all that? So I started looking at his content, and I said, you know what? And I swear, Brady, I swear I said this to him. I said, maybe it's because you and I were going to talk today. I said, I'm not seeing any video. I'm not seeing any movement on this page. I'm seeing a lot of
Yeah.
nicely done static post, but I'm not seeing a lot of that. So and he took that to heart. I think he wrote me back and said, "Oh, that's a good point. I should look into that." And I need to also send him a link to this show, and I will do that once it posts. But
That'd be
Brady, let
great.
me just ask you something. I mean, so do you get those kinds of customers come to you and go, "Look, we're just not cutting it on social. We're trying to get this Facebook page going. We're boosting posts here and there." Do you do that kind of work? And if so, can you just kind of walk us through how that looks to somebody who's out there listening, going, "I don't know if this is going to work for me."
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and I like a nice variety. So I think that's something that, the consumer will see. And, if it's all of one thing, a lot of times, they'll just get bored with your content. So a nice variety is good. But, if a picture tells 1,000 words, how many words does a video show, right? And you can really connect with, being able to hear somebody's voice, see them move around, talk. So it's just, there's so many more elements to actually incorporating video into content. And when you're wanting to actually speak to your consumers, if you can literally do it, that's pretty cool. It's not just through written form, which has its benefits, but it's another element and a great tool to have in the toolbox. So yeah, I mean, oftentimes people, and the most common thing when people come to me, um, it's that they've been scared to do it.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. They're just nervous about it. So a lot of times it takes a little pep talk, and we can get them on board.
Yeah, can you give us some examples of some stuff? Let me throw something at you. This is an idea. I've got an idea about, I might do this, but it might be crazy. How about I do it this way? I'll just tell you my idea, and you cannot be concerned about hurting my feelings if it's dumb. Okay.
Go for it.
Brady, this is how it's going to be when I hire you one of these days to help with one of my clients. I'm just going to say, okay, man, listen, I'll tell you this, but not in front of the client. So you can tell me if it's dumb or not. Okay. That's how it's going to work.
Perfect.
Okay. Because that's collaborative. That's as far as I feel.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's say it's a dentist, and right now, okay, one of my crowns fell off a few weeks ago, and I haven't been to the dentist because of COVID. I'm scared of that. Okay, the last thing I want to do is have my mouth wide open for 20 minutes while they replace the crown or whatever. So I was very nervous, but I had to do it. Your crown pops off. It's kind of hard to eat when you've got, okay. Right. So anyway, enough of that. We've all been there. Yeah. And so I called, and they got me right in. I went, and I had some trepidation. So I roll up, and they told me, when you get here, we'll meet you in the anteroom outside. We'll take your temperature. We'll give you some hand sanitizer. We'll do all that stuff. And if you're cool there, we'll usher you back when it's exactly the moment we can see you. They brought me in. They had me do the like a really high intensity mouthwash, basically, to kill off whatever might be there lingering around, who knows what. And then they're all shielded and masked and gowned, and they had taken every picture off the wall. They'd taken anything that virus could latch onto. They got new equipment that they were, I mean, I didn't know they were doing this, but they were like not playing.
That's crazy. I haven't been to any offices since COVID, so I don't know what that's like.
Well, and for a dentist, into healthcare, so people have to go to the dentist, and I have to go more often. I get cleanings and stuff like that. So, but they had this machine they put right there. Anyway, there's a point to this long story is, I left feeling confident I was going to be okay, that I wasn't going to catch something, that they hadn't, they were very serious about this. But I know there's a lot of people who don't like going to the dentist anyway. So here was my idea. Now you're ready. Here's the idea. So I was thinking, well, maybe if that was my client, I would do some kind of walkthrough procedure, even if it's something corny, like just being like the camera being the point of view of the patient, and then just doing a walkthrough that they could post on Facebook. That's probably a little lame, I guess, but I'm just wondering, are those things, what do you think of those things?
No, that's great. I mean, behind the scenes is huge. People want to see what's actually going on, and especially in that setting where it's, I guess not necessarily behind the scenes because customers do walk back there, but it gives them a preview of what the experience is going to be like. So for somebody who might be a little nervous about going into that situation, it gives them a little preview of what to expect, right? So
Yeah.
I actually really like that. I think there's something to that. So
Well, I'd
good
ask my
idea.
dentist. Okay, good, because I'd ask my dentist. I said, I assume your business is down. He goes, yeah, a lot of people, not completely, but they said a lot of people are just scared to come in, and that's what got my wheels turning. So if we could do what you said there, just provide them with, look, this is what we're doing. We're not just going to tell you we're doing this. We're going to show you, because we're talking about showing and telling. So let me go back to what you said, though. I want to get a little deeper. So behind the scenes stuff. Can you give me an example? I mean, you don't have to tell us who or what, but is there a product or a service or an organization where you've done that kind of thing that you could kind of just elaborate on, give us an idea what that looked like?
Yeah, a little bit. So interestingly enough, for the podcast, I do a lot of behind the scenes for me.
Oh, cool.
So, that's an example that comes right to mind, which is easy to talk about, obviously. So for the
Mhm.
show, I'll actually show people how I'm editing a thumbnail for YouTube, and kind of how my mind works and give people a little behind the scenes. Oftentimes I'll give people a screenshot or a little preview of an upcoming episode and like show from my point of view of like interacting with the interviewee. And it's interesting, and it gets people excited and actually feel like they're a part of the show and not just a consumer. So that's an interesting example, obviously, but yeah, in general, behind the scenes is pretty big.
I like your idea. You know what? Now you got me thinking I need to do one for this show, because, I sent
That'd
you
be
a
great.
pre-show questionnaire, but maybe just to alleviate any concerns, and I just say, okay, hey, this is me, like a 2 minute maybe thing, or a 1 minute thing even. Hey, hey, it's me, Alex. I'm going to be your host, your producer of the show. Here's how it's going to be when you're working with us as a guest. That's not a bad idea, actually. I like that, man. It's like, this is some really fruitful conversation already. I'm getting all these
Hey,
ideas.
there we go.
I'm gonna have to hire you to help me with that. Is there? Let's talk. Just since it's the elephant in the room, we've kind of touched on it though. Has COVID changed the way you provide your services?
Yeah, it's been interesting. Some people aren't as open to meeting face to face, so it's a lot more, on the Zoom call side of things. And I think a lot of times, this year too, and fortunately for me, a lot of people I work with, they're also content creators. So a lot of times they just need, help with the actual campaign management side of things.
Right.
So, there's been more of that where, they'll handle the content side themselves. So I'm not even going in person,
Hmm.
and I'll literally just get, the link or the video itself and just get to work and start using it. So it's been interesting. Definitely a lot more time inside my four walls, which gets a little boring, but
Oh yeah.
I can't complain.
Let's okay. In our final moments as we get going here, let's talk to the PR professionals out there. I mean, again, we're both credentialed PR people ourselves. But let's talk about maybe, if you could, your top couple or three tips on ways that PR people who are not into this part of what you do, don't really understand it, how they can help serve their clients with what you do. Can you just give us some basic tips so they can lead with?
Yeah. So what would people do in my position from a PR
If
standpoint?
if you're a PR guy or gal, and they said, Brady, what can you do to help me serve my clients better? Just, are there a couple of things they could run past a client that usually gets the client's attention? We've already covered some of this. Forgive me, but I just mean, what are the top two or three things that, it's me. I'm a PR guy. What can you do to
Right.
help me out with my clients? What would you say right away? That's like, Alex, this is the lowest barrier to entry to what I do to help you, that could get the attention of your clients, maybe help me upsell a client or get a new client.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And I love, thinking back to the PR days. Of course, there's a mix of public relations and marketing, but I love getting back into that PR first mindset. So, I love having the the public relations background because I feel like it's still, locked in my brain with everything I do. And, with everything, you want to think, how will this be perceived by the public,
Right.
And whether it's content or anything that you put online, you want to think first how this is going to be perceived. So even if it's engaging or, there's some type of value with the content, if it doesn't really fit with your brand and, get perceived in a way that your actual, customers or clients, would think is respectable, then you might want to stay away from it, So there's just a lot more that goes into it than just thinking marketing.
Right.
Like even for me, I'm not just thinking what's going to lead to the next sale, for this client or that. I mean, I'm thinking long term, how are they going to be perceived and, thought about, in their public. And so it's really multifaceted. And I think, PR goes into everything, whether, you really think about it or not.
Right. Well, I appreciate that. I like that. And I think that more PR people should look at branching out into doing this kind of stuff for their clients, because I think clients right now are looking for any edge, obviously, they can get. And particularly when a lot of our clients, speaking for myself, their customers, whether they be B2B or B2C, are stuck at home, as we just discussed. Video and that kind of content and fun content and interesting content like that is going to help break through the clutter, I think, a lot easier than a lot of the other stuff we used to do. So I love that aspect of what you're doing. Well,
Yeah,
before we
thanks.
wrap up, before we wrap up, I wanted to ask you real quick about your show. Tell us about the show. Where can people find it, and what do you do on the show?
Yeah, I appreciate it. So it's called the Brad Dog Media Show, based around my personal brand, Brad Dog Media, which it was kind of a funny nickname that led into a brand. So it's really geared toward helping young entrepreneurs get an idea of, different directions they could go in entrepreneurship and, tips and relatability as far as the journey goes. So I bring on people from a variety of industries that have their own entrepreneurship journey and, really give people a taste of what it's been like. And the great thing is hearing how every story is different.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, you think, I don't know. I think a lot of people believe entrepreneurs or people that are in high positions had some type of privileged background, but that has rarely been the case. And more often than not, everybody's story is super relatable. So that's been really fun. But as far as where people can find it, so it's the Brad Dog Media Show with Brady Hester. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music now, Google Play, YouTube. So
Yeah,
pretty much anywhere.
wherever you get your quality podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll put links in the show notes, of course, to
Thanks.
all of this. Hey, last word is to you, man. Anything I didn't ask about that you want to cover before you check out and go back out in this wonderful, beautiful Kansas City day, or maybe you're staying at home. I don't know, but
Yeah, hopefully get outside a little bit. It's weird getting all this warm weather this
Yeah.
far into fall, but
yeah, it's like in the 80s here, folks. Of course, as the day we record this in, what is this, October? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Last word to you,
crazy.
sir.
Yeah, so I mean, I would just recommend to people, don't be afraid to get in front of the camera. Even if it's not going to be like, I guess an official post, like maybe start off with Instagram stories, giving people a little behind the scenes, just showing what you're up to, get in front of the camera and see how that can evolve. If you haven't done that at all, that's a good place to start. And just give it a shot, and you'd be surprised at the amount of feedback and gain that you'll get from actually showing your face in front of the camera.
Yeah, and you might actually be good at it.
Yeah.
You never know. Brady Hester, Brad Dog Media, Kansas City, fellow citizen.
Kansas City.
Thank you so much for being here in the virtual lounge, my brother.
Thank you. Great hopping on the show.
Oh, you know what that means? Looks like it's last call here at your virtual lounge for PR news, views, and interviews. Don't forget, you can ask me a question anytime. You can do it through our Twitter account, which is @HoursPR, or Even better, you can send me a message vocally. I would love to hear your voice, and I'll answer it on the show. There's a link in the show notes. All you have to do is sign up through Anchor FM. It's free, doesn't take long, and you record your message. I get the message. I will play your audio. Just give me your first name and the city you live in, and then I will answer the question to the best of my ability right here on the show. Don't forget to, if you're enjoying this podcast, you can support it and help increase the frequency and value of the show. Just consider being a sponsor for your brand or your agency or just yourself because you're like, I like this show. Or just drop a few coins in the virtual tip jar. Either way, there's links in the show notes. Please check that out. All of that, of course, being in the show notes where you're listening right now or at prafterhours.com. I see that they're turning up the lights. Last call is over, and I've got to clean up this virtual lounge. And until next time, I'm Alex Greenwood, and you've been listening to PR After Hours on Anchor FM.